Next on the 5 o'clock report.
When the flames come over here, I'll get out of here.
Can't replace your loved ones.
This is about ensuring the citizenship.
This executive order is ludicrous.
If you don't make your product in America, you will have to pay a tariff.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Fleeing more flames in L.A. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster.
Our cutting line this way, and then we're going to take hose to you.
A fire chief barking out instructions to some of the hundreds of firefighters who are being kept busy playing whack-a-mole with one wildfire after another. An L.A. County helicopter dropping water on one of those new fires that started in the last 24 hours, prompting evacuation orders or warnings for tens of thousands of residents. This man was fighting a losing battle against the flames with a garden hose as someone urged him to get out.
This is all I got. When the flames come over here, I'll get out of here.
This Valencia, California man didn't hesitate when the evacuation orders came for him.
You can replace your home and belongings, but you can't replace, your loved ones and your pets and stuff. So we decided, don't risk it. Just do what the authorities want you to do.
Rain this weekend could help firefighters out, but comes with the risk of triggering landslides if it rains too hard in the wrong places. President Trump's executive order aiming to limit birthright citizenship temporarily blocked today by a federal judge. A Seattle U.S. district judge heard arguments in a lawsuit filed by Arizona, Illinois, Oregon, and Washington. The case prompted sharp political divisions.
This is about ensuring the citizenship, a cornerstone of our national identity.
This executive order is not only going to be burdensome, it is ludicrous and it's unconstitutional.
Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley says the 14th Amendment debate here might not be as cut and dried as some think.
The amendment is a model of clarity at both ends. It basically says that if you are born or naturalized in the United States, you are a citizen. But in the middle of that is this maddening clause where it says, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Those 6 words have been a roaring debate since the 14th Amendment was ratified.
Turley suggests Trump knew they'd lose this case initially today, but wanted to launch the process now to get the case to the U.S. Supreme Court faster. Multiple fronts in the battle over illegal immigration. The administration's ordered 1,500 U.S. troops to be added to those already stationed at the U.S. southern border, and that might be just the beginning.
Now sources tell CBS News the new administration is thinking about dispatching a much larger military contingent to help seal the border.
CBS's Nancy Cordes. Some cities that have deemed themselves sanctuary cities for illegal immigrants are already acting to thwart efforts by immigration officers to round up those engaged in illegal activity since coming to the U.S. That includes Boston.
A memo sent to school bus drivers in the city urged them to keep students on the bus if they see ICE agents at bus stops. Governor Maura Healey made it clear that the state would not get in the way of federal agencies like ICE, but state law prohibits local agencies from doing their work for them.
Reporter Brandon Truitt. President Trump delivered a remote address to the World Economic Forum meeting in Davos, Switzerland. His message, if you want to do business with Uncle Sam, the best plan is to manufacture your goods here in the U.S.
But if you don't make your product in America, which is your prerogative, then very simply you will have to pay a tariff.
Trump said that tariff money would go into the U.S. Treasury to aid the economy and pay down debt. Trump also says in a phone call with Saudi Arabia's crown prince that he was promised at least $600 million worth of investment in the U.S. Confirmation votes on Capitol Hill today for Trump's cabinet picks. Lawmakers approved John Ratcliffe's nomination for CIA director. The Agriculture Secretary nominee was also there today as well.
A Texas A&M graduate who worked with President Trump during his first term, Brooke Rollins, was asked by senators like Minnesota's Amy Klobuchar about what the president's likely use of tariffs might mean for farmers, especially if there are retaliatory tariffs.
During the first Trump administration, we heard resounding calls from farmers that they want trade, not aid.
Jessica Rosenthal. Lawmakers also moved forward Pete Hegseth's controversial nomination as Secretary of Defense. Ford is recalling more than 250,000 SUVs and trucks over a battery issue.
It's a defect in the manufacturing of the 12-volt batteries in certain 21 through 23 Bronco Sports and Mavericks. While this is a safety concern, Ford has no reports of fires, accidents, or injuries. Dealers will inspect the vehicles and, if needed, replace the batteries.
Auto industry reporter Jeff Gilbert in Detroit. And while we're getting a bit of a thaw here, frigid weather is still being felt by millions of Americans from the Midwest, East Coast, and right down to the Gulf Coast. Tens of thousands woke up without power this morning. The lack of snow removal equipment in southern areas where snow's so rare is leading to treacherous road conditions that could persist for days. Still to come on the 5 o'clock report. Emotions running high in Ovid, New York after that big fire. Some upstate nurses speak out about their contract situation. And what about all that ice piling up in the Susquehanna River?
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The call for tonight, plenty of cloud cover with flurries in areas of lake and hand snow. And we could see a couple, 3 inches accumulate in some spots east of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Little elsewhere, low temps teens. Tomorrow, clouds will break, but flurries will still fly for some. High temps, mid-teens to mid-20s. And on Saturday, early flurries, but we'll end up with some sunshine. High temperatures Saturday in the 20s.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin Williams. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. More emotional stories coming out of Ovid, New York after Tuesday night's block fire that claimed several businesses and apartments in the Finger Lakes community. Kelsey Thorne and her 3 children lived in an apartment above the Big M store shortly after Christmas. That's when they moved there, and that's where the blaze is thought to have originated. She tells WHAM.
I turned the corner and it was like smoking everywhere. But all I could do was get my kids out and run to the Big M and tell everybody to get out. I put so much blame on myself because I could have done more. I feel like I could have stopped something.
The Ovid Fire Department says that blaze destroyed 6 businesses and 10 apartments, leaving 60 people unemployed, another 15 to 20 looking for a new place to live. Among places accepting donations for those impacted, the Seneca Falls Police Department and Seneca County Sheriff's Office. Officials who maintain New York State's roads and bridges say Governor Hochul's proposed budget is full of potholes. The State Association of Town Superintendents of Highways says Hochul's shortchanging them by keeping their state funding frozen, same level as last year. The organization's first vice president, Town of Clarence Highway Superintendent James Dusing, tells WKBW,
"We are just extremely disappointed for the second year in a row. With inflation, 0 increase is actually a decrease because we can't do the same amount year after year after year with the same amount of funding."
His concerns are echoed by Grand Island, New York Highway Superintendent Richard Crawford.
It's frustrating. Certainly the governor knows what cold weather does to roads. We may have to cut it 20 to 30, maybe 40% of what we've done in past years just due to those numbers not coming in.
Highway superintendents plan to visit Albany in March to call on the governor and legislature to increase highway funding. In a statement, Hochul's office says she's made, quote, transformative investments in infrastructure projects during her tenure. Speaking of highways, one of President Trump's executive orders caused some concern that it might scrap the I-81 project in Syracuse. But a local congressman says don't worry about it. Trump's Unleashing American Energy order calls for freezing funds through the Biden-era Inflation Reduction Act and Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, both of which fund the I-81 work. But area Democratic Representative John Mannion tells WSYR,
"We don't believe that there's any risk to the project at all, and certainly where we are in the project, we can't stop. This has to come through to fruition. We have dedicated dollars to it and a contract, and we're confident that we're moving forward." Because
Trump's order was focused on environmentally friendly energy initiatives, many feel the I-81 funding won't be touched. They called it a speak out, and nurses at Oneida Health Hospital spoke out outside of the facility yesterday, demanding management work out a fair contract with the New York State Nurses Association. Donna Macaron with the local bargaining unit tells WSYR,
"It's harder to staff the off shifts, so if they incentivize patient or nurses to take on those different shifts, then we could actually retain them and keep them here instead of going to other facilities."
Contract negotiations have been a bit rocky of late. The latest bargaining session did come this week. The union says it recently filed an unfair labor charge in response to what it called, quote, Oneida's attempt to silence union nurses. An Oneida Health Hospital spokesperson says they value the nurses and look forward to finalizing a fair contract. Internet giant Yahoo has sold off its Lockport, New York data center for $49 million. Yahoo built it in 2009, expanded it a few years later. It'll continue to occupy the site. An affiliate of Colorado-based H5 Data Centers bought the Yahoo properties, but Yahoo will remain the primary user of that 43-acre campus. Support continues to pour in for a Bradford County, Pennsylvania family after a fatal Monday fire. Teacher Ashley Roerig and her young daughter Avery died in the Herrick Township blaze. 3 family members survived, though, and Wyalusing School Board President Kelly White tells WETM the community has responded generously to help the family out.
I've never seen something like this magnitude take place. It's so warming to me to see people not just directly related and in the community where the Roerigs live come together, but people, they send send me messages. I don't know the family. I'm not from there, but here's $100. People are just moved to help.
A GoFundMe started by White for the family has surpassed $100,000 in donations. Officials with the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services confirmed that a recent system outage temporarily prevented thousands of families from getting their child support payments. Authorities say the state's contractor, Conduent, who is responsible for dispersing those payments, reportedly experienced an outage last week in multiple states. DHS says that just in PA alone, the service disruption created a backlog of about $27 million worth of child support payments, but the problem has since been resolved and the backlog is starting to clear. Rough weather to stay outside unprotected, and that goes for Erie, Pennsylvania's U.S. brig Niagara. The historic wooden tall ship reproduction has faced numerous maintenance issues in recent years. It currently sits uncovered on the Erie waterfront. These members of the group Protect Brig Niagara tell Jet TV the ship should have been protected from winter with a tarp before the hard weather set in.
The freezing and thawing kind of thing is not good for anything in the Erie area, including a wooden deck with tar sealing it.
Erie has harsh winters, and they weren't able to follow through with getting it on when it's normally put onto Niagara.
The Pennsylvania Historical and Museums Commission says a cover is on order and in the process of being completed and shipped to Erie. The manufacturer blames delays in constructing the ship's tarp frame and the measurements that were needed from that for delaying the process. The Susquehanna River in Luzerne County, PA, is full of large chunks of ice right now, leading some to wonder whether potentially damaging ice jam flooding might be a threat. However, Dave Elmore with the County Emergency Management Agency tells WBRE that for now at least everything's cool with the ice.
We're concerned about it, but there's no ice jams on the river right now. There's ice that has stopped flowing, but currently the water is flowing underneath thin ice, which is preventing it from hitting the bottom and causing a jam.
The Wyoming Valley experienced significant ice jam flooding in 2018, but Elmore says the weather conditions that caused that situation haven't been seen here this season, at least not yet. All right, your nightly market report is up next, brought to you by Faithward Advisors. Wall Street closed higher as the S&P 500 finished at a record high. In fact, this comes after President Trump called for cheaper oil prices and lower interest rates when speaking virtually with the World Economic Forum. Meantime, earnings season rolls on. Netflix and big banks out with positive reports. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 408 points to 44,565. The S&P 500 rose 32 to 6118, and the Nasdaq up 44 points to 20,053. Faithward Advisors, a Christian financial planning firm helping faithful stewards do more. Details are available at faithwardadvisors.com. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
No matter how long you've trusted God to provide, doubts about the future can always creep in. I have a Bible passage to help. I am Rob West with a Faith and Finance Minute. 1 Samuel 7 recounts a time of trouble. Samuel urges the people to repent and serve the Lord. They prayed and fasted, and God saved them from the Philistines. Samuel erected a monument to mark God's faithfulness, saying in verse 12, "Thus far the Lord has helped us." How many times and in how many ways has the Lord helped you? They're easy to forget, aren't they? Try this. Every time you see God helping you, write it in a journal or on a piece of paper and save it in a drawer. Then you can say in troubled times, "Thus far the Lord has helped me," and He always will. Manage your finances wisely with the easy-to-use FaithFi app. Download FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store, or learn more at faithfi.com.
Very good. Now coming up on the 5 o'clock report, just what is the price of snow these days?
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. We're tracking a cold front moving through the area tonight, kicking up the breeze and a little bit of snow along the way. A fresh batch of chilly weather follows tomorrow, but nothing as extreme as we've seen in recent days and nights. The call for tonight, plenty of cloud cover with flurries in areas of lake and hand snow, and we could see a couple, 3 inches accumulate in some spots east of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, little elsewhere, low temps teens. Tomorrow, clouds will break a bit, but flurries will still fly for some. High temps, mid-teens to mid-20s. And on Saturday, early flurries, but we'll end up with some sunshine. High temperatures Saturday in the 20s.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Finally at 5, how much would you pay, Eagles fans?
For the first time ever, fans have a chance to own the snow collected from the end zone where the team celebrated their 28-22 victory. The snow was carefully gathered with the Eagles ground crew, preserved and insulated ice cream containers.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles teamed up with a sports memorabilia company to sell samples of snow from the field after the team's snowy playoff win over the Rams last weekend. They charged $50 for a bit of snow, scraped off the end zones after the game by the Lincoln Financial Field grounds crew and packaged into ice cream containers, then shipped in dry ice, complete with a warning that since it was likely mixed in with dirt and other stuff, it wasn't really fit for human consumption. Crazy, you say? Well, the entire lot of 100 sold out in less than 3 hours. Talk about a snow job. Other recent team offerings included Lincoln Financial Field grass clippings. And that's the world we live in for Thursday, January 23rd, 2025. Thank you again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.